Hey everyone, welcome back to Noiseberry Games. Welcome to another video editing tutorial kind of thing. So the last video I did, it was just a very simple, the real basics of editing in Vegas Pro 16 or whatever version of Vegas you're using. This video is just gonna really be a bunch of the more advanced just tips I've picked up along the way of my several years editing with Vegas. I've been editing with Vegas since I started uploading videos on YouTube, so since February 2013, I've been using Vegas all that time. So I've picked up quite a few things that just seem like quite natural to me, but hopefully they'll be useful tips. So first, I'm not even going to start in Vegas. I want to start in Audacity because Taylor asked me for any tips with Audacity. Not really. I just use Audacity to record. So I've recorded this little it's literally just an intro. I just needed something in here to look at. I just record in Audacity, and I don't want to edit too much in Audacity because Audacity is destructive editing, which means that you can't like undo something, because obviously like when I export it from Audacity, I want to take whatever I export and put it into Vegas, and then I want to mess around with it in Vegas because I can always undo anything I do in Vegas. Once I edit something in Audacity and then export it, I can't undo what I've done in Audacity at that point. So I always leave it as raw as possible. I don't put a compressor on it in Audacity. I like doing it in Vegas. The only thing I do in Audacity is I do a little bit of noise reduction. And you can see from the wavelengths, when I'm not talking, it's pretty quiet. I'm in a really nice room here. It's got really good acoustics, so I don't get any background noise or anything. Even so, I still do a little bit of noise removal. So I just grab a little chunk of quiet audio. I go Effect, Noise Reduction, Get Noise Profile, Control A to select the whole timeline, Effect, Noise Reduction, okay. I think these are the default settings. If not, you can just use those ones, and I go okay. And you can see that very slightly well, today I learned that doing noise removal in Audacity while you're recording on Audacity causes Audacity to crash. So that's interesting. So I won't show any more in Audacity, but that's just how I noise reduction. That's it. I also export as a WAV in Audacity. I can probably risk bringing this back over. I just go File, Export as WAV. If I'm sending it to someone, I export it as MP3. But if I'm just editing myself, I export it as WAV. It's, I don't know, it's probably like 6 times bigger or something to export it as a WAV. Like when I'm recording Chris and Taylor, like their audio will be, I don't know, a few hundred megabytes for like a 2-hour session, and then mine will be 1 to 2 gigabytes usually. But it just exports way faster as a WAV, so that's why I do it as a WAV. So after my first video, Fitz sent me a message. Fitz, aka Whiskey Mongoose, because he was saying he was amazed at how smooth my Vegas plays.
Get the Welsh.
It's not. I mean, there's not a lot going on in here. Let's go there. But you can see, like, it's always playing as 60 FPS.
To treat that situation.
It's very smooth. And then Fitz sent me a video of his playing at like, I think it was 6 FPS. It was just really choppy, and we couldn't figure out why it was. And it turns out the answer was in the project properties. So if you do Alt-Enter, you bring up your project properties. It's because Fitz's pixel format was set as, I think it was the full range one, which unlocks this Aces color space and stuff. Apparently, if you have it on either this one or 8-bit, you don't get any choppy playback at all. I've just always had it on 8-bit, and it's never been a problem. So just make sure it's on 8-bit. Just a real quick tip while we're here. You can see this timeline is pretty busy. It's got a lot of tracks, and it can be quite annoying to go over to this scroll bar here. What you can do is you can actually hold Control on your keyboard and scroll down, and it'll just move down here. If you don't hold Control and zoom out, it zooms out of the timeline. But if you hold Control, it scrolls down. So that's kind of neat. Taylor asked me to show off zooming and cropping. So let's just go somewhere where there's actual something going on. Let's say right here. I really wanted to zoom in on Taylor's name or something. So we'll do a little split there. We'll split there. Perfect. That's using S. I don't want to go over the basics again. And then you want to zoom in until you get this little, what would they call that? I don't even know. The crop, event pan crop button. That's the one you want. So you click that, and it brings up the event pan crop screen. And basically, you just go to the corners, you can zoom in like that, and you can drag this around. I think you want to have this thing checked, the sync cursor checked, because then if you, basically the way I've got this right now is if we close out of that, the zoomed in part is going to stay right there. So if we like kind of drag through there, you can see it's really moving all over the place. And that'll bring us on to the next little tip, which is motion tracking. I'll show like very basic motion tracking, but that's how you zoom and crop. It's basically you make sure you get this little button, click on it, and then you can manipulate this box however you want it. And so because we've got the sync cursor on, we can move through this timeline thing here. And God, this is going to be a really ambitious motion tracking, but it's fine. You can see it plays like in time. So what you can do is, as you're bringing this along, you can say, oh, like right here, I want to zoom out a bit because this is getting a bit much. With the cursor at this point, we can adjust this. We'll zoom out a bunch. And you can see down on our little mini timeline here, it's placed a new marker. So basically, at this point now, this is going to be what we've cropped in on. But anything before this marker, it's going to transition from our cropping in the first marker to the second marker. So if we go back, you just watch the box, you can see it slowly grows until it's at this point. And that's the very basics of motion tracking, really. I'm going to try and find somewhere where it moves around a little bit. Like kind of here. So we'll ignore everything at the start. And now basically if I wanted to motion track, like very basically, I would zoom in on the timeline and I just drag it a little bit just so we get like very smooth motion. We're going to go really big on this one because it's going to look terrible. Let's do that. You just scroll out here, obviously. He's gone. So we're going to go up there. Is he going to cut? There he is. If you want to stay in one place for a while, you go to like the end point of where you want that cropping to be and you hit insert on your keyboard. That gives you a little marker. So you can see in all of these, between all these markers, the crop window's moving a bunch. And then between these ones, it isn't moving at all because we want it to be back here. This is really shit motion tracking. Normally I do things a lot better. But that's just an example of very basic motion tracking. So now if we go to probably back here, we should be able to watch it motion track a little bit.
No, she just looks at me like a fucking like deer in headlights. Like, what am I supposed to do with this?
Oh really? She wasn't like judging you or anything?
No, she just didn't.
Doesn't that look terrible? But yeah, that's very basic motion tracking with zooming and cropping. Okay, so this is a fully finished highlight video with myself, Chris, and Taylor. So it's got all the different tracks and stuff. I don't know. We might not need the preview for this one. But I want to show off the ripple edit tool on this. So we're going to zoom in, just like listen for a bit of audio. Yes.
Honk with two legs.
Okay, so maybe at this point, I thought like there was a bit too much dead air after I said yes. Yes. Yeah, that could be like a little bit tightened up. I'm not actually going to keep it, but it could be a bit tightened up. And so if I wanted to like, like split there, get rid of that. Oh no, I've got this space there. Oh, am I going to move all of these over one at a time? Am I going to zoom out and like grab everything? Shift click. Oh, make sure we get that top one as well. Scroll back. Oh, where was it? There. There, we've closed the gap. We've closed that 10 frame gap. You could do it like that. Or you can use the ripple edit tool, which you come down here, you turn on ripple. You can also control L. I just click on it because I forget the keyboard binding, so I don't use it too much. click on it, we're now rippling. And basically, what that does is if you either drag or you do a split and delete, it'll bring everything with it. So if we have it off and we, cut there, we get the cut, but nothing comes with it. If we turn it on and do that little cut there, it brings everything with it. Yes. So now we've got that nice tight little edit there. So that's the ripple tool, and it's very useful. Okay, now I'm gonna talk about how to blur something. So let's say in like this bit of footage here, maybe I wanted to blur whatever was going on in the bottom right. I've used it before for blurring, if I was on like an online multiplayer game and somebody wrote something really bad in the chat, I'd want to blur that out, block out IP addresses, that kind of thing. So let's say I want to blur out this whole bottom bit here. This is the best way I've found of blurring. Unfortunately, it makes the timeline a little bit messier. What you're going to want to do is duplicate your video track. So you just right click over here and go duplicate track. And now you have got just everything duplicated. So it does get a little bit messy. If you want, you can like clean it up and go like, oh, I don't need these here. Get rid of that. Only keep the bit you wanted to duplicate, which was this one, I think. So yeah, I'd get rid of like all that. Just depends if you're bothered by a slightly expanded timeline. Doesn't really bother me too much. And so I can never remember if it's the top or bottom one you want to mess with. I think it's the top. So we'll go with that, and if it's not, we'll sort it out. So on the top one, you want to go back to the event pan crop page, and instead of being on position, we want to be down on mask, and we'll do a little check to make sure that we've masked. And you've got all these different tools over here. You probably want to use either the rectangle or square mask creation tool, which just draws a rectangle, obviously. You do the oval one or circle. I use that for doing face cams. If I want to just like do a circle of my face cam instead of the whole widescreen thing, you can do that. Or if you want to be very specific and get like a really specific area and shape, you can do the anchor creation tool, which is where you do little dots like that to make a very specific shape. You just link them up at the end like that. For the most part, you probably don't need that one, but I definitely use that a lot when I was blurring things originally, so you might want that one. But we'll just go with this rectangle like that. So we want to blur that. I usually go slightly outside of the video just to make sure it probably hits it. So now we've got our mask. We want to go up to the plugin chain to get VFX, and we want to grab Vegas defocus. Double click. Okay. Oh, sweet. That was the right one. Look, that already looks pretty good. We barely even have to mess with that. Preset, we'll just stick with default, and I think the one we want to mess with is radius. I think if you bring it closer to the left, like closer to 0, it gets very blurry. So something like that. That, about 2.5 blurs everything we need, really. And whenever you put VFX on, it is going to cause your display, your preview display to lag. So if we go to the left here, 60 FPS, perfect. If we go here,
I don't know what to call it.
5 FPS, perfect.
It's right by Mount Royal.
That's just what happens when you put VFX and stuff on. It's not going to be like that in the finished video, but it will make your preview lag, and it will also make your export take a little bit longer. Especially if you put something like that on the whole video, it'll make it take forever, basically. So again, to blur just a small part of the video instead of the whole thing, you want to duplicate your video track, go to the top one, make sure your cursor is at the start, because we've got the track cursor on. If I'd like clicked in here and gone to crop, our cursor would be here, and it wouldn't be it wouldn't blur anything to the left of the cursor. So you can either like manually put it there, or you can just close out and make sure your cursor is at the very left. Make sure you're on mask instead of position, put a little check mark there. Draw a box or an oval or like custom, do your little points around what you want to blur. In the same box, go up here, defocus, double click, okay, and then defocus, just play with the radius until it blurs what you want. Okay, stretching, like time stretching footage. Let's see here. So let's say we wanted this little shot of Taylor
she-
going up there in slow motion. Really, really easy way to do it is you go to the end of your event and you hold down Control, and you can see that the icon has changed from trim event end to time stretch. And when you're holding Control, you left click and drag to the left, and you see we get these squiggly lines.
No, she would.
And that's made it time stretched, basically. It's got a limit to how far it can go. And that's as far as it goes. And I think the limit is, I think it's 4 times, because we're currently playing back at 25%. So I guess it's like 4 times as slow, basically. So if we play that now.
No, she would like.
Perfect. You can see the video is slow, but the audio sounds kind of weird. It's got that kind of like tinny metallic sound.
No.
Just sounds kind of weird. And you might be used to when videos are in slow motion, you get that really deep kind of sounding thing. And we can actually get that. So if we go to Taylor's audio down here, that's the one that we're hearing the most. Right click on it and go to properties. If we go to pitch change, we lock to stretch. You can see it's not pitch changed at all right now. It's just stretched basically. Now if we click lock to stretch, it's now pitched down to -24. And if we play it now, so that's Taylor's audio. So we can do the same with the game audio as well. Lock to stretch. Sounds like quite cursed, really. But that's how you slow motion video and make the audio sound like you'd expect it to sound instead of weirdly tinny. And you can also obviously do that the other way. You can bring it back to normal or go really fast. Beautiful. Okay, just a couple more things. I don't want this video to be too long. Let's go back to Strange Brigade and look for some of Chris's audio. So my audio is the purple audio. Chris's audio is this green one. You can actually name your tracks if you go up to this like blank spot in the top left, double click it. I do that sometimes when I'm like first starting a project, just in case I get confused, or if I'm using Discord audio and there's like 10 tracks or something. But you can see my audio, the peaks are just pretty normal. You can see like they get pretty big if I'm laughing or something like that. But my audio setup is just very good. Taylor's is pretty good too. A little bit more variation than mine. You can see like there's some quiet bits, and then others are like a bit louder. And then Chris's, for the most part, is just very, very quiet, except for when he's laughing. And if we go here,
Nice.
What? Because 5 is stupid.
It kind of is.
So you know, Chris sounds a little bit quiet there. And so Taylor was asking me, is there a way to, you know, like make the quiet bits louder and make the louder bits quieter? And there sort of is. You can normalize the audio. And so if we go to Chris's and we right click, we go switches, normalize, it won't actually do much in that instance because there's already one bit of audio that's pretty loud. Like we play that and watch the output meter.
Undo.
0.1, like that's already very high. So basically what the normalize would try and do is bring everything up to, so the max it'll hit is like about 0.1. But because this bit of audio already hits 0.1, the normalize won't do anything. So if we split that, how high does this one go?
Zed?
That one's also probably a bit loud. So we'll split that one away as well. Split that one. I don't actually need to do it like that. We can just split all of those away. So now we've just got the quiet audio, which is going to hit -16. So now, if we normalize, you can see it all gets boosted. Just right click HN is a very quick way of normalizing. So you can see it really lifts those up. So that is the best way of boosting quiet audio and quieting loud audio, I guess.
Nice.
What?
Because 5 is stupid.
H isn't?
Kind of is.
There you go. So that's just a bit louder now. Okay, well, I think that'll do for this video. I don't want it to be too long and too overwhelming. I've still got a few more things I could talk about, but these are most of like I just tried to write down everything I used or thought of as I was editing over the past couple of days. And I also took on a couple of requests, really. All right, hope you enjoyed watching this. Bye.